Have you ever said something to a woman and instantly noticed her whole energy shift? Her eyes light up, her smile gets wider, and suddenly she's leaning into you like you're the only man in the room? What if I told you that there are certain compliments, not the boring ones, not the predictable ones, that can make a woman feel something so deep that she can't help but start falling for you? That's exactly what we're diving into today. 8 compliments that make women fall for you, backed by proven attraction psychology and guided by the timeless wisdom of Marcus Aurelius. So before we begin, make sure to subscribe to the channel, hit that like button, and watch till the very end, because what I'm about to share might completely change the way you connect with women for the rest of your life. Now let's set the stage with a quick story. A young man once asked Marcus Aurelius, "How should I treat others?" And the Stoic emperor responded with a simple truth: adapt yourself to the things which your lot has been cast, and love the people with whom destiny has brought you together, but do so with all your heart. Think about that for a second. He didn't say love them halfway or pretend to appreciate them. He said with all your heart. Compliments, when used correctly, are exactly that. They are a way of seeing someone with your whole heart, and women can feel it. But here's the problem. Most men compliment the wrong way. They say things like, "You're hot," or "You're pretty." Guess what? She's heard it 1,000 times. It slides right past her without leaving any impression. But the compliments we're about to explore today, they're different. They're rare. They go beneath the surface and make a woman feel truly seen. And when a woman feels seen, she begins to open her heart. 1. You make people feel comfortable around you. Do you remember the very first time you met someone who made you feel instantly at ease? Maybe it was a girl you liked. Maybe it was a stranger at a party. Maybe even a classmate or a colleague. Think back for a moment. Her presence felt different, right? She didn't need to say much. She didn't need to try hard. Just by being herself, she made you feel like you belonged. That's the kind of memory that sticks. And here's the secret. If you want to make a woman truly open her heart to you, noticing this quality in her and actually telling her can change everything. Most men never say it. They'll tell her she's beautiful, or that her smile is cute, or that her eyes shine. Sure, those words feel nice, but they fade fast. They're surface level. They're the kinds of compliments she's heard 1,000 times. But when you look her in the eye and say, "You make people feel comfortable around you," it hits differently. It's not about her appearance, it's about her presence. Let me share a little story. A friend of mine once told me about a girl he met during university. She wasn't the loudest in the room, she wasn't even the most eye-catching at first glance. But she had this rare gift. When you spoke to her, it felt like the noise of the world went quiet. My friend said, it wasn't that she said the perfect words. It was that she made me feel like I could just breathe. Now imagine being the guy who notices that about her. Imagine telling her, you make people feel so at ease when they're around you. It's rare. You're not just giving a compliment, you're giving her recognition. And recognition is something far deeper than flattery. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "The soul becomes dyed with the color of its thoughts." A woman who makes people comfortable has a soul painted in kindness, patience, and calm. When you recognize that, you're telling her, "I see the real you, not just the outside, but the essence." And let me ask you this, isn't that what every woman secretly craves? To be seen, not just desired, not just admired for her looks, but understood for the way she impacts the people around her. So here's what happens when you use this compliment. She'll pause. She might even look surprised because hardly anyone notices it. But deep down, it will make her feel special, safe, and valued in a way that goes far beyond appearance. Think back again. Who's the woman in your life that once made you feel comfortable just by being around her? If you had told her that in the moment, do you realize how much more powerful that connection could have become? That's why this compliment isn't just words, it's a bridge into her heart, built on recognition, honesty, and presence. 2, you have a strength about you that inspires me. Have you ever looked at a woman and thought, she's been through so much, yet she still stands tall? Maybe it was the way she handled pressure. Maybe it was how she carried herself during tough times. Or maybe it was simply the quiet dignity she had when life tested her. Think about your own life for a second. When you've struggled, when you've felt like giving up. Now imagine a woman in your life, maybe someone you loved or admired who never crumbled under that same kind of weight. Isn't it true that her strength inspired you even if you never told her? That's the exact reason why this compliment is so powerful. Most men will tell a woman, "You're so pretty," or "I love your style." And while those compliments are nice, they're common, they don't touch her soul. But when you say, "You have a strength about you that inspires me," you're stepping into a different territory. You're not admiring what she wears, you're admiring what she carries. You're not complimenting her looks, you're recognizing her resilience. Let me tell you a story. A man once told me about his girlfriend, who had gone through the loss of her father when she was just a teenager. She became the emotional pillar of her family, supporting her younger siblings while also chasing her own dreams. Years later, when he told her, "You inspire me with how strong you are. If it is not right, do not do it. If it is not true, do not say it." That's stoic integrity. And when you recognize that same integrity in a woman, you're showing her that you're a man who values more than just appearances. You value truth, character, and inner strength. So let me turn this back to you. Think about a woman in your own life. Maybe it was your girlfriend, maybe someone you loved from afar. Was there ever a moment when she refused to compromise who she was, even if it cost her something? Imagine looking her in the eye at that exact moment and saying, "I respect the way you stay true to yourself." Can you feel how deeply that would touch her? Because here's the thing, anyone can tell her she's beautiful, but when you tell her you respect her authenticity, you're speaking to the part of her she protects most fiercely, her identity. And when a woman feels that a man sees and respects her essence, she'll never forget him. That's the power of this compliment. It's not about flattery, it's about honor. Costa, you have a rare kind of depth. Have you ever been in a conversation with someone and felt like, for the first time, you weren't just talking, you were connecting? Like their words weren't just words, but windows into something deeper? That's what I mean when I talk about depth. Now imagine you're with a woman, and instead of talking about surface-level things, the weather, gossip, or the latest trends, she opens up about life, about what drives her, about her dreams, her fears, her philosophies. She's not afraid to go deeper than most people dare. And in that moment, you look at her and say, "You have a rare kind of depth." Do you know what happens when you say this? You validate the part of her that she might often hide. Because let's be honest, most people don't reward depth. The world today is obsessed with speed, with appearances, with quick dopamine hits. But when you notice her depth, you're telling her, "I see you. I see the part of you that thinks, feels, and questions the world in ways most people overlook." Here's a little story for you. A man once told me about a girl he met at a bookstore. Everyone else was rushing in and out, picking up coffee and scrolling through their phones. But she was sitting in the corner, reading a book on philosophy. Marcus Aurelius, in fact. He sat down near her and they started talking. Instead of small talk, she told him how she believed suffering could be transformed into strength, how she saw beauty in impermanence, how she questioned the meaning of life itself. He could have said, "You're really smart," but instead, he looked her in the eye and said, "You have a rare kind of depth." She froze, not because she was offended, but because no one had ever said that to her before. Later, she admitted that this one compliment meant more than 100 others she'd received in her life. Why? Because it recognized her inner world, not just the outside she showed everyone else. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "You know, I really love the way you see the world." Do you know what happened? She didn't just smile. She froze for a moment, her eyes softened, and she told him nobody had ever said that to her before. Imagine that, something so simple yet so powerful, because it recognized her inner world, not just her outer image. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "Everything we hear is an opinion, not a fact. Everything we see is a perspective, not the truth." When you tell a woman you love the way she sees the world, you're showing her that her perspective, the way she paints, reality is valuable, and when someone feels their perspective matters, they feel deeply connected to you. So let me ask you again, think about the women in your life. Maybe it's your girlfriend. Maybe it's someone you loved in the past. Was there ever a moment when her words shifted something inside you? Maybe she made you appreciate life more. Maybe she helped you see the good in people. Maybe she taught you to slow down. Now imagine telling her in that moment, "I love the way you see the world." Don't you think that would have made her feel seen in a way no ordinary compliment ever could? This compliment is powerful because it's rare. Women don't just want to be noticed, they want to be understood. And when you admire the way she sees the world, you're telling her, your mind is just as beautiful as your smile. And that's something she'll never forget. 4. You bring out the best in me. Have you ever noticed how certain people just change the atmosphere around you? Think about it. There are people who drain your energy, make you doubt yourself, make you feel heavy. And then, there are people who do the opposite. When you're around them, you feel lighter, sharper, even more alive. It's as if they unlock a version of you that you didn't even know was waiting to be revealed. Now imagine telling a woman this truth. You bring out the best in me. Do you realize how powerful that is? You're not just telling her she makes you happy. You're telling her she makes you better. And every woman, no matter how strong, independent or confident, wants to feel like she has a positive impact on the man she cares about. Let me share a story. A man once told me about his girlfriend during his early 20s. He said, I was reckless, impatient, quick to anger. But when I was with her, I found myself calmer, more focused, even more ambitious. He didn't change because she forced him to. He changed because being around her naturally brought out a higher version of himself. One evening, sitting under the stars, he looked at her and said softly, You make me want to be a better man. You bring out the best in me. She didn't just smile, she teared up. Why? Because she realized her presence wasn't just appreciated, it was transformational. Psychologists call this the Pygmalion effect, when people rise to the expectations and energy of those around them. If she makes you more patient, more courageous, more focused, then she's shaping your growth. And when you tell her that, you're not flattering her, you're honoring her influence. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, The happiness of your life depends upon the quality of your thoughts. Now imagine this. If her presence makes your thoughts sharper, cleaner, more positive, then she isn't just part of your life, she's part of your happiness. That's what this compliment is all about. So let me turn this back to you. Think about a woman in your life, maybe someone from your past, maybe the one you're with now. Did she ever push you, silently or with her words, to aim higher, to think clearer, to act with more integrity? Did she ever make you feel like you were finally walking in the direction of the man you were meant to be? Imagine looking her in the eyes in that moment and saying, You bring out the best in me. It's not just romantic, it's vulnerable. It's telling her, your presence matters. You don't just make me feel good, you make me become good. And here's the truth. Women don't forget the men who make them feel beautiful, but they never ever forget the men who tell them, you make me better. That's why this compliment is so powerful. It doesn't just praise her, it binds her to your growth, your journey, your transformation, and that's a bond far deeper than attraction. 5. You have a rare kind of energy. Have you ever met someone who walked into a room and without saying a single word, the atmosphere changed? Maybe everyone smiled a little more. Maybe conversations became lighter. Or maybe you just felt pulled toward them, almost magnetically. That's what we mean by energy. And not everyone has it. Some people blend into the background, but others, they shine without even trying. Now imagine looking at a woman and telling her, you have a rare kind of energy. Do you realize what that does? You're not commenting on her looks, her style, or even her words. You're noticing something invisible, something she probably doesn't even realize about herself. And when you notice what others don't, you instantly stand out in her mind. Here's a story. A man once told me about a girl he met at a friend's dinner party. She wasn't the loudest. She wasn't dressed in a way that screamed for attention. But she had this way of making the whole table feel warm and alive. People leaned closer when she spoke, laughed louder when she joked, and even when she was quiet. Her presence filled the space. Later that night, he told her, you know, you have this energy that's really rare. It just makes people feel alive. Do you know what happened? She didn't brush it off. She went silent for a second, then smiled in a way that showed the compliment had gone straight to her heart. Why? Because women hear you're pretty all the time. But you have a rare energy. That's personal. That's soul-level recognition. Psychologists say this is connected to aura perception, the subtle ways we sense someone's vibe beyond just their appearance. And Marcus Aurelius himself hinted at this when he wrote, the soul becomes dyed with the color of its thoughts. If her thoughts, her outlook, and her spirit are vibrant, her soul will shine through, and her energy will naturally affect everyone around her. And here's where it gets powerful. When you tell her this, you're not just admiring her, you're reflecting back to her the unseen impact she has on the world. That makes her feel special in a way that no surface-level compliment ever could. So let me ask you, think back to your own story. Has there ever been a woman whose presence lingered even after she left the room? Maybe she wasn't even your type physically, but something about her vibe stayed with you, almost hauntingly. If you had told her in that moment, "You have a rare kind of energy," don't you think she would have remembered you forever? Because here's the truth. Beauty fades, words are forgotten, but the way someone makes you feel, that stays. And when you compliment a woman on her energy, you're telling her that you don't just exist, you leave an imprint. And that's the kind of compliment she'll carry in her heart for years. 6. I respect the way you stay true to yourself. How many people in your life do you think are truly authentic? How many people actually live by their own values instead of bending under the pressure of society? Friends or even family? If you're like most of us, the answer is not many. Because the truth is, it's hard to stay true to yourself in a world that's constantly trying to shape you into something else. Now imagine a woman who refuses to play that game. Maybe she doesn't follow every trend. Maybe she has strong opinions. And even if they're unpopular, she doesn't back down. Maybe she refuses to compromise her principles, even when it would be easier to just go along. That's rare. And when you look at her and say, "I respect the way you stay true to yourself," you're not just giving her a compliment, you're honoring her integrity. Most men never do this. They'll say, "I love your smile," or "You're beautiful." And sure, those words feel nice for a moment, but they're temporary. This compliment, it digs into her core. You're telling her, "I see your character, I see your courage, and I admire you for it." Here's a little story. A man I know once told me about a woman he admired in college. She was constantly under pressure from friends to party, drink, and live recklessly. But she had a vision for her life. She wanted to become a doctor. And while everyone else was getting lost in distractions, she stayed focused. One day after class, he told her, "You know what I really admire? That you don't let anyone pull you away from your path. You stay true to yourself." Years later, she told him that out of all the things people said to her in college, that was the one compliment she never forgot. Why? Because it didn't praise her looks or her clothes, it praised her soul. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "If it is not right, do not do it. If it is not true, do not say it." That's stoic integrity. And when you recognize that same integrity in a woman, you're showing her that you're a man who values more than just appearances. You value truth, character, and inner strength. So let me turn this back to you. Think about a woman in your own life. Maybe it was your girlfriend, maybe someone you loved from afar. Was there ever a moment when she refused to compromise who she was, even if it cost her something? Imagine looking her in the eye at that exact moment and saying, "I respect the way you stay true to yourself." Can you feel how deeply that would touch her? Because here's the thing, anyone can tell her she's beautiful. But when you tell her you respect her authenticity, you're speaking to the part of her she protects most fiercely, her identity. And when a woman feels that a man sees and respects her essence, she'll never forget him. That's the power of this compliment. It's not about flattery. It's about honor. Course, do you have a rare kind of depth? Have you ever been in a conversation with someone and felt like, for the first time, you weren't just talking? You were connecting? Like their words weren't just words, but windows into something deeper? That's what I mean when I talk about depth. Now imagine you're with a woman, and instead of talking about surface-level things, the weather, gossip, or the latest trends, she opens up about life, about what drives her, about her dreams, her fears, her philosophies. She's not afraid to go deeper than most people dare. And in that moment, you look at her and say, "You have a rare kind of depth." Do you know what happens when you say this? You validate the part of her that she might often hide. Because let's be honest, most people don't reward depth. The world today is obsessed with speed, with appearances, with quick dopamine hits. But when you notice her depth, you're telling her, "I see you. I see the part of you that thinks, feels, and questions the world in ways most people overlook." Here's a little story for you. A man once told me about a girl he met at a bookstore. Everyone else was rushing in and out, picking up coffee and scrolling through their phones. But she was sitting in the corner, reading a book on philosophy. Marcus Aurelius, in fact. He sat down near her and they started talking. Instead of small talk, she told him how she believed suffering could be transformed into strength. how she saw beauty in impermanence, how she questioned the meaning of life itself. He could have said, "You're really smart," but instead, he looked her in the eye and said, "You have a rare kind of depth." She froze, not because she was offended, but because no one had ever said that to her before. Later, she admitted that this one compliment meant more than 100 others she'd received in her life. Why? Because it recognized her inner world, not just the outside she showed everyone else. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "Look within. Within is the fountain of good, and it will ever bubble up, if you will ever dig." That's what depth is. It's the well of thought, wisdom, and emotion within a person, and when you compliment a woman on her depth, you're telling her that her inner world is just as beautiful, maybe even more beautiful than her outer one. So let me turn this back to you. Think about the women you've known. Have you ever sat across from someone and felt like their words carried more weight, more meaning, more soul than anyone else's? Maybe it was late at night and you were talking about dreams, regrets, or the meaning of life. If you had looked at her in that moment and said, "You have a rare kind of depth," don't you think she would remember you forever? Because here's the truth. Beauty can fade, charm can wear off, but depth is eternal. And when you honor it, you create a bond that no shallow compliment can ever touch. 8. You make life feel lighter. When was the last time you were around someone who made you forget about your worries, even just for a moment? Someone whose presence felt like sunshine breaking through on a cloudy day? That's exactly what this compliment captures. Life can be heavy. We all carry stress, responsibilities, regrets, and fears. And sometimes, even in relationships, conversations get weighed down by pressure, expectations, misunderstandings, or just the struggles of daily life. But then, there are people who seem to carry an invisible light, a smile, a laugh, or even the way they see things differently. It feels like they lift the burden off your shoulders without even trying. When you tell a woman, "You make life feel lighter," you're not just complimenting her, it's like you're thanking her for being a rare gift. You're saying, "Your presence heals me. You remind me that life isn't always about the struggle, it's about the joy too." Let me give you a story. A man once told me about the darkest season of his life. Work was overwhelming, his family was struggling, and he felt like every day was a fight just to get through. But then there was her. She wasn't perfect, she didn't have all the answers, but every time she walked into the room, something shifted. Maybe it was her laughter, maybe the way she could turn even the simplest moments into joy. She made him laugh when he forgot how to. She made the weight he carried feel less crushing. One evening after a long day, he looked at her and simply said, "You know what? You make life feel lighter." Do you know what she did? She smiled, but not the usual smile. She teared up, because that's the kind of compliment that reaches the heart. She realized in that moment that her presence wasn't just nice, it was meaningful. She wasn't just filling space, she was making his world easier to carry. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "The happiness of your life depends upon the quality of your thoughts." And some people bring out the kind of thoughts that are filled with joy, gratitude, and peace. When you tell a woman she makes life feel lighter, you're telling her that she's more than just attractive. She's a source of happiness, a refuge, a reminder that life is not all pain and struggle. Now think about your own life. Was there ever a woman who made you feel like the world was less heavy when she was around? Maybe she didn't even realize it, but her presence shifted your whole perspective. Imagine if you had told her, "You make life feel lighter, don't." You think she would have remembered those words forever? Because here's the truth. This isn't just a compliment, it's a mirror. It shows her the beauty of what she gives to others without even trying. And when a woman feels like she makes your life easier, brighter, and more joyful, she won't just feel appreciated, she'll feel irreplaceable. Final thoughts. So let's bring this together. Most men throw compliments like coins into a fountain, hoping for luck. But you're going to use them like keys. Keys that unlock a woman's heart. Not by flattery, but by recognition. Marcus Aurelius taught us to live with depth, truth, and heart. When you compliment a woman in these ways, you're not just playing a game, you're practicing stoic love, sincere, respectful, and powerful. Use them wisely, use them truthfully, and you'll never have to worry about being just another man in her inbox. You'll be the one she remembers. With that said, thanks for watching, and until next time.